The moment it happened, the moment that would quietly unravel 3 years of distance. Pride, pain, and unanswered questions began not with a grand reunion or a planned conversation, but with something as ordinary and as cruelly unexpected as the slow opening of a grocery store's automatic doors. Ethan hadn't been prepared for it, not even close. 1 second he was pushing the old metal cart with a squeaky wheel, holding his daughter Lily's tiny hand and telling her to remember they were only buying pasta and apples. The next second, his heart punched against his ribs so hard he almost stopped walking. Because at the end of that aisle, framed by harsh fluorescent lights and shelves stacked with cereal boxes, stood the woman he had once dreamed of growing old with, his ex-wife, the woman who left, and the mother of the little girl now humming beside him. Her name still tasted heavy in his memory as Isabelle when he saw her again. It felt like both a wound reopening and a breath he'd been denied for too long. She hadn't noticed them yet, but she would, and when she finally lifted her head, turning as if tugged by some invisible thread, her eyes landed on him with the softest tremor, surprise melting into something unreadable, something that made Ethan's knees nearly buckle. 3 years without a word, 3 years raising their child alone, 3 years trying and failing to erase the pieces of her he kept tucked in his chests, suddenly undone by a single unplanned moment. Asterisk, if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Stories. Your support truly means the world. Asterisk, Ethan could have turned away. He almost did. But Lily, with her tiny legs and boundless innocence, tugged at his sleeve and whispered that she wanted the blue cereal with the cartoon dolphin on it, then ran ahead before he could stop her. And just like that, she collided, gently, not painfully, but enough to make both women gasp into Isabella's leg. The world didn't pause. It collapsed silently in Ethan's chest. Isabella bent down, instinctively steadying the child she hadn't seen since she was barely speaking, barely walking, barely able to remember faces. But now Lily was 4. Now she was curious and bright and full of questions. Now she could look straight into Isabella's eyes. Ethan stood rooted as he watched Isabella's trembling hands hover, unsure, afraid, aching, and Lily blinking up at her with the innocent calm of a child who didn't know she was staring directly at the ghost of her own past. Asterisk. It wasn't supposed to be like this. 3 years ago, when Isabella walked away, broken by her own battles, overwhelmed by postpartum depression no one understood, she had begged Ethan not to hate her, not to see her as heartless, not to let Lily grow up thinking she hadn't loved her, but she'd still left. She packed a bag, vanished to another city, and sent one apologetic letter that never mentioned coming back. Ethan had been angry, yes, but mostly he had been scared for their daughter, scared of raising her alone, scared he wasn't enough. He had swallowed every nightmare and every exhaustion-filled day, becoming mother and father, caretaker and protector, nurse and storyteller. He never spoke ill of Isabella to Lily, not once. He couldn't, because there had been love once. Deep, messy, beautiful love. Asterisk now, standing in the cereal aisle. Isabella looked thinner than he remembered, older in a way that wasn't about age but about weariness etched into her bones. Her eyes glistened, wide and fragile, as she whispered a barely audible hello. Ethan thought he might drop to his knees from the weight of all the unsaid things pressing against his throat. But Lily, who had the emotional clarity only children possess, simply looked at Isabella, tilted her small head, and studied her face the way kids study strangers who feel strangely familiar. Then, without hesitation, she took one small step closer, placed her hand gently on Isabella's cheek, and spoke the two words neither adult was prepared to hear. "Hi, Mummy." The world cracked open. Isabella's breath left her in a trembling gasp, her hand flying over her mouth as tears flooded instantly. She had dreamed of the day her daughter might call her that again, but she had never believed it would come. Ethan felt his own eyes sting, not in anger this time, but in something harder, heavier grief mixing with relief, resentment mixing with compassion. Every emotion he had buried clawed its way up. Lily, oblivious to the storm around her, simply smiled, as gentle and pure as a sunrise breaking over a dark ocean. The store aisle suddenly felt too small, too loud, too fragile to hold what was happening. Ethan stepped forward, steadying himself, steadying Isabella, steadying their daughter, even though he wasn't sure he had the strength. Isabella whispered Lily's name with a cracking voice, barely managing to hold herself upright. Her hands shook as she touched her daughter's hair, her cheeks, her little fingers touches she had been starving for, touches she feared she no longer had the right to ask for. Ethan watched, feeling both protective and powerless. The moment stretched on, suspended in something sacred. Lily didn't pull away. Instead, she wrapped her arms around Isabella's neck, as if embracing a memory buried deep inside her. Isabella cried without sound, the kind of tears that come from places deeper than sorrow from longing, regret, hope, and heartbreak all blended together. They left the store together, not speaking much, walking slowly, as if each step could shatter the delicate balance holding them upright. Outside, the sky was overcast, grey and soft, as though the world itself were holding its breath. They sat at a wooden bench near the parking lot, with Lily climbing into Isabella's lap naturally, instinctively, as though something inside her recognized home even when her mind didn't fully understand. Ethan stood close, arms folded, unsure whether he was supposed to leave them alone or protect Lily or shield himself. He didn't know where to place his emotions. It was Isabella who finally spoke, voice barely above a whisper, but steadying with each word. She told him where she had been, how healing wasn't linear, how guilt had eaten her alive, how she had watched videos he'd posted online of Lily's birthdays and school days, always from afar, never daring to comment, knowing she had forfeited her place. She had wanted to come back so many times, but every attempt ended in fear that she would hurt Lily again, that she wasn't healed enough, that Ethan wouldn't allow her near. Her solitude had been punishment, and she had accepted it. But today, fate had forced her to look at what she had lost. Ethan listened, arms slowly dropping to his sides as the walls he had built began to weaken. The anger that once fueled him felt old, faded, almost tired. He realized he wasn't angry anymore, just afraid of letting her back in. Afraid of being hurt again, afraid Lily might be confused or betrayed. But watching them now, he also realized something unexpectedly gentle. Lily wasn't scared. She wasn't angry. She was simply a child who saw warmth and reached for it without calculation. The afternoon drifted on, slow and heavy, the three of them wrapped in a bubble of rediscovery. Isabella didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't claim excuses. She only asked whether she could be allowed, in whatever small way possible, to prove she could be different now, to prove she could be a mother again, not perfect, not whole yet, but present. Ethan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he watched Lily fall asleep in Isabella's arms, her tiny head resting on the woman's chest, as if she belonged there, a sight he hadn't seen since Lily was a newborn. Something inside him softened, cracked, healed in small, fragile places. They walked to the parking lot together. Isabella held Lily until she reluctantly placed her into Ethan's car seat, kissing her forehead with trembling lips. She turned to leave, not wanting to push, not expecting anything. When Ethan called her name, not sharply, not bitterly, but gently, like he used to, if you want. You can come tomorrow. Spend time with her. We'll take it slow. Isabella froze. Tears returned instantly. She nodded, unable to speak. The following weeks unfolded like the slow warming of winter into spring. At first, Isabella visited for an hour at the park, then 2 hours. Then she helped with preschool homework, with lunchtime picnics, with bedtime stories on weekends. Lily grew attached quickly, and Ethan watched cautiously, ready to intervene if things grew unstable. But Isabella didn't run this time. She didn't withdraw. She showed up again and again, even on days she was emotionally exhausted, learning motherhood all over again with patience, therapy, support, and humility. Ethan noticed the changes, not magically or instantly, but gradually, in the steadiness of her presence. For the first time, he allowed himself to see her not as the woman who left, but as the woman who was truly trying to return. The turning point came one rainy evening when Lily got sick with a fever. Isabella rushed over without hesitation, arriving soaked from running through the storm. She sat beside Lily's bed for hours, cooling her forehead, humming softly, refusing to leave until her temperature dropped. Ethan stood in the doorway and watched not the broken version of the woman who once walked away, but the one who was fighting with everything she had to come back. That night, something in him shifted completely. They rebuilt not as a couple, not immediately, not simplistically, but as two people learning to forgive, to cooperate, to share the weight of parenthood. Slowly, cautiously, gently, Ethan found himself laughing with her again, sharing coffee on the porch while Lily played, rediscovering the softness that had once drawn them together. And Isabella, with each step forward, grew steadier, stronger, more whole. They didn't erase the past. They learned from it. They didn't rush anything. They let moments guide them. Months passed. Lily grew happier, more confident, more loved. And one afternoon at the park, after watching their daughter run in circles, chasing butterflies, Isabella whispered that she never expected a second chance. Not with Lily, not with him, not with life. Ethan didn't promise anything grand. He simply said they would figure things out together as a family, one day at a time. And for the first time in years, the future didn't feel uncertain. It felt possible. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Stories. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people who need hope.